Me, honestly, I think, like, so many of my close friends are here. People from London who've moved here for work and stuff like that. It's like, I'd say since I left home, I've never really had the place that feels like, oh, that's my home. I'd say my house in London is the most homely that I feel anywhere, just because I've been there the longest. I've been there for like 6 years now. With like all the touring and stuff that we did in the band, I remember there was one point where we'd been away for so long that I came home to my house in England, and I was home for about 5 days, and I walked in the door and I sat down, and I was like, I don't know what to do, like, when I'm home at all. I'd been away for so long, I didn't, I hadn't seen my friends for so long, I didn't know who was around. I was kind of like, who do I hang out with?
What is this strange reality? Yeah.
So there was a point, I guess, where I realized I was more comfortable being on the road than
So what'd you do
was
after
being
5
home.
days? Did you head back off again?
Yeah, and I was like happy to go. I was,
I think it's actually understandable. I think there's something about that kind of gypsy lifestyle, which, in particular, the arts that make you travel, music and such, and the idea of having sort of a desire to be gypsy just by your very nature. They attract one another to some degree. I mean, were you always a little bit kind of adventurous as a kid? Were you looking further afield even when you were growing up?
I don't know if I was really. I had never been to London before I moved there, which is crazy to me to think about it now.
That is crazy.
It's not that far away from where I grew up. It's like a 3-hour drive. But London was like where the rich kids went shopping on the weekend, like with their mum or something, you know? But also everything about it felt like it was like, this is a new challenge. And if it takes me to London, then
the whole thing seemed to me to just be a new challenge. It was crazy watching it kind of from a distance and watching what you and your friends were kind of going through and the whole thing. I mean, I suppose with the benefit of some wisdom and some age now looking back on it, you must even have a slightly different perspective than when it first ended in 2015. It's been 4 years and just kind of thinking what happened.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy now because there'll be times where people will remind me of stuff that happened that I forgot about. And you like relive it all over again. You're kind of like, oh yeah, that was cool too. The first 2 years you don't even feel like you're working at all because you're just so happy to not be going to school, and it's like, I get to do this, great, okay. And you kind of go from also like, when you're a kid and you see a T-shirt that you want and you like save up the exact amount.
Yeah.
But you'd have to account for like the postage and packaging, so you'd actually have to like save up for this amount. You're kind of like doing this, and then you move to London and you work doing stuff that's fun, and you're like, can I buy this T-shirt? And someone's like, yeah, if you want. And you're like, okay. And that kind of feels like what life is like.
Then it just goes from T-shirt to flat, from flat to house to, if you're lucky enough to have that kind of success. I mean, I'm interested to know 2 memories, and we're not going to stick around here for long because there's so much more to talk about. But while we're here, what was, now you've been away from that experience, what's the strongest prevailing memory you have before One Direction started? Like, what's the sharpest, most vivid memory you have in your mind before your life was tipped upside down? Yeah. Right. Before everything changed. Because it was so sudden. I mean, it was over the course of, 10 weeks, and all of a sudden that's it. You're not going home again.
Yeah. I mean, probably like a birthday meal I had with some friends. I used to live next to a Chinese restaurant, and it was like my favorite restaurant. So I used to come home from school every day, and I'd get up to my bedroom, like open the window and stick my head out.
To smell it.
Woo! And that was like where I went for my birthday meals. But I'd say probably the biggest stuff would probably be, there was a river, it's called the River Dane, where, everyone would go down in the summer and you'd buy those little disposable barbecues that you used to take, and someone would be in charge of like buying sausages and someone would have to buy the drinks.
Tin foil barbecues used to put on the beach.
Yeah, and you like put them on the floor and then you try and squeeze somehow 12 sausages onto this like tiny thing.
Okay, what's the one prevailing memory you have today of that? Was it 4 years?
5.
5 years?
Yeah.
What's one that really jumps out?
One of my favorite memories, I'll give you 2. The first one was when we'd just been formed as a band, there was like a picture of us that had been taken from when we were at the show, like someone's mum had taken it. And it was like the first picture of us, just the 5 of us. And we were staying at my stepdad's house. We were like living in this little bungalow, all of us together to like practice, and we were just like singing songs and basically just had a sleepover for like 4 days, and everyone drove down, and there's a tiny little like newsagents down the street, and we'd heard this picture was being put in the paper. So we were like, oh, we're gonna be in the paper. Like, that's crazy. So the 5 of us like left this little bungalow and walked down to the newsagents and got the paper, and then came back and had breakfast, and we're all just like sitting, staring at the paper and like passing around the paper, and we're like, let me see it again, let me see it again. And I don't know, I guess just because we just didn't know what was gonna happen.
It's a timeless image. That's a timeless image.
We were so happy about it.
That first real piece of like recognition when you realize that it's not a controlled environment anymore, like people that you don't know down the street can actually take a look at you or hear you, that's still, without a doubt, a life-changing moment for every artist I've ever spoken to.
Yeah, because it only happens one time too.
Oh, after that, everything kind of changes.
Yeah, because we were watching X Factor my family, we were at my cousin's house the day that my audition went on air. And, you know, we watched it and we're like, oh my God, that's crazy. I mean, I feel at home in England for sure. I think between being in Cheshire where I grew up and now being in London is definitely where I feel most home. I've lived in London for about 7 years now, so it's always kind of been the place I come back to after traveling, and I hadn't really been to London. I'd never been to London before I moved here, but now it definitely feels like home for me. And Italy, I haven't been for a little bit, but I mean, we always used to just have the most amazing time when we were there. Touring there was unbelievable. We did our DVD concert there. It was amazing. The fans were always amazing. I've been lucky to make a couple of friends in Milan over the years of traveling, and it's pretty amazing. One of them has his own olive oil, and it's really good. Having a song that I'd written and having these 26 gospel singers with a conductor and me sitting there, it just felt like it was growing into like its own thing. To have been part of a moment that means something to someone enough for them to write a song about it is a huge compliment. I think I like the writing part the most, and what inspired it. I think it's hard to not have influences from like what you grew up listening on. I think that's I think everyone reacts differently to like different types of music, and then really I think I don't know. I was with like the guys I was writing with, and we just wanted to make like what we wanted to listen to. Right. And I think that's been the most fun part for me about making the whole album is it's like at the moment, I mean, in the least weird way possible, it's like my favorite album to listen to at the moment. Like I love listening to it.
I think that's how it should sound.
I think so. I think like if you put out something that you don't like stand behind and really love, then if it doesn't go well, then you could regret not doing what you wanted to do. Whereas, you know, if nothing happens with it, I love it. So I think that's kind of what you should do.
Yeah.
But I think that's been my favorite part of the overall thing is kind of listening to the album and making all the changes, and it's been fun to kind of like watch over it all.
I think there's a few. I think more so, you know, than one story. I think it's very much a piece of me that I haven't shared or talked about before. So I think the album's very much a snapshot of me more so than it is about anyone else. But I think, you know, like I said, I really didn't know what it was going to be when I started writing it, and it finished in a very different place than it begun. And I just had so much fun working out what it was that it was going to be the whole time, and that changing the whole time was really fun. And now I've ended up with something that I love listening to. I'm proud of. I'm also, you know, found it very therapeutic to write and be vulnerable while writing. And I think if I'd made anything other than that, I would have been disappointed in myself.
It's going to be one of those kind of things, is it? It's going to be those.
I'd say Finn is worse than me.
I'm a pretty terrible morning person. I don't like mornings.
Are you just quiet, or are you grumpy?
Tired, yeah. Just tired in the mornings. It's tiring getting up, isn't it?
It is.
I'm not too bad, so I'll take that one, I think.
You're crazy in the mornings, man. You're just so energetic. I can't keep up, man.
It's motivating.
I'm going to watch a rom-com in my room. Then I'm going to go to bed.
I actually don't know. I think the thing that's important to remember is it's not always necessarily the first thing you might think of, but I obviously would never tell someone that what they thought was wrong. I think the best thing about music is that everyone can take away different things from stuff.
It's different to every ear.
And that's not wrong. There's not really a wrong answer. I feel like a lot of my favorite songs that mean something to me, I'd be disappointed if someone told me that they're about something else. It might ruin the song for me. So, yeah, I think Sweet Creature is definitely about one person. But yeah, I think it's important to remember that, you know, there's many different types of things that could be about, you know, a person. Yeah. Know what I mean?
I think, yeah, most of our time on set was together, and we actually auditioned together as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of full circle. Me and Finn joined. I've always been a massive fan of, you know, movies and actors, and, you know, there's so much of things that I've watched that I feel like, you know, when you're younger and you watch it, it kind of shapes you, I guess. So I did a little bit of it when I was younger. I think with this, when I heard about the project, it just sounded so exciting, and obviously the prospect of getting to work with Chris was incredibly exciting. And now I just feel very lucky to have kind of been involved and get to be a part of something so amazing. I think getting to watch it now, I feel very proud of it.